Welcome back everyone to Showbiz India, and here we are in Studio City, California with the lead star of Jinn. Here is Dominic Rains. Welcome for the first time on Showbiz India.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And your film just released.
Yes, it did.
How are you feeling?
Well, you know, it's been a long time coming, so it's nice to finally see it make it to the silver screen and to be a part of this whole project from beginning to end. You know, it's been a long time coming.
Good for you. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell me, how did you get a hold of this project? How were you approached, or did you go audition?
No, I had a film in Sundance in 2010 called The Taco Chorus. And one of the producers at the time had another film there, and he happened to come across the film, and I know that they were looking for the lead of Jinn. And so he had seen the film, and I guess it's funny because when I met him, he didn't mention anything about Jinn. I guess he just wanted to see what kind of a person I was. And then about a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from him, and he introduced me to AJ, and they gave me the concept, you know, sent the script to me, and I read it, and it just seemed like this action-packed fun, something I'd love to be a part of. So once AJ and I got on the phone, we spoke for probably a good couple of hours, and he told me his approach, what he was trying to do, and I fell in love with him, and I fell in love with the project, so I was like, wanted to be a part of it.
Well, that's fantastic. And now you're born in Iran.
I was born in Iran.
Were you familiar with the concept of Jinn prior to this?
Well, when my family and I migrated to London, I grew up alongside a very beautiful Indian family, and my mother and their mother were very dear friends, and she was a very spiritual woman, and she kind of introduced my brother and I to the idea of Jinn. Now, I really didn't pay too much attention to it. I was too busy crawling up the walls, but my brother got into it pretty heavily. But that was the first time that I guess you could say that I was introduced to it, and it wasn't many years later that it would come up in conversation, you know, about these creatures that you can't see. They can see you, this world that we can't tap into, but they can tap into ours. And they, you know, different shapes, different sizes, and they could read your mind and so on and so forth. So it was fascinating to learn about it, but at the same time, you know, the supernatural is not something that I've really been like interested in. It's not something that's, to me, that's, I don't know, garnered too much of my attention. You know, I've been always too busy playing sports or doing other things. So, yeah, that's probably the closest that I could say that I was affected. But funny enough, here I am, a part of a film in Jinn. So it's like, you know, everything kind of makes its way around.
So here you are, the lead star of the film. Yeah. Tell me, what did you have to do to prepare for this role?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Sometimes you get these character roles, and you can mask a lot of your vulnerability and behind behind different curtains. But with playing this character Sean, it seemed like there was a lot of me involved. There was a lot of vulnerability to this character, so it definitely made it a lot tougher for me to play, to be completely honest with you, as a lead and to carry the film. I think what was important was for us to know exactly what was happening in each and every scene, to make sure that Sean had somewhere to go. He started somewhere, he climaxed somewhere, and he was able to get somewhere. And that was definitely a journey in and of itself. Physically, it was a very exhausting role.
Good thing you're fit.
Yeah, I got tossed around a little bit, and a lot of different cool stunts that we got to do, but it was very physically exhausting, emotionally, mentally. But it was very, very gratifying. I mean, it was just, I was accompanied by an incredible team. It was just an incredible group of people to work with. But preparation was just more or less knowing each morning what we were going to do, how we were going to approach the scene, what it is and just really try and be okay to fail. That was the biggest thing, not to go in and try to perfect it, you know. I put the pressure on AJ to take care, on Ajmal, to take care of everything.
I want to get to know you personally. Sure. We had a little time to chat earlier, and you were telling me you're very athletic, you love yoga. Tell me more.
Yeah, I've been doing yoga for close to 10 years now. It's provided me a great focus whenever I've done it. Whenever I haven't done it, it's funny, this like chaotic world around me.
Yeah.
But it's a very peaceful process, and I've been very fortunate to have come across that many different people have introduced many different styles of yoga to me. It's very challenging, and I think the more I can do that, the more I've gotten to know myself better. Very self-reflective.
So let's talk about your acting. So
Sure.
when did you decide that this is what you wanted to do and embrace acting?
Well, you know, I was introduced to acting by my mother. I mean, outside of watching movies and falling in love with actors, one of which was Amitabh Bachchan as a child. That was probably the first time where I was glued to a TV screen, was like, whoa, what is this? What is it? When we moved to Dallas, my mom would stick my brother and I like modeling on-camera classes, and they'd teach you different things about commercial, but they also teach you how to like walk properly. You know, so there's a little bit of that fashion thing. And I thought it was ridiculous, to be completely honest with you, and I didn't really understand what she was trying to accomplish. I was 15, I started wrestling. I told my brother, come join the wrestling team with me. He does. 6 weeks later, he goes, I'm going into drama. So he goes into the drama club. He continues, goes into college, gets into a really great theater arts school, starts getting his bachelor's in fine arts in theater. And I was going to another university studying biology and criminology. Well, my third year in, he gives me a call and says, hey, there's this NBC movie of the week. So he told me, and he told like a dozen of our friends. So we all go to this casting office, and I walked in. I looked very different. Had a shaved head, I was 20 pounds heavier, had this goatee. So I walk in the door, and the casting director looks at me and goes, why don't you read for this? And it ends up being this big supporting role in the film. And then from there, you know, it just started from there. And I guess I just kind of started to do, you know, primetime TV shows, into some soap operas and whatnot. And I think it wasn't to answer your question, it wasn't till end of 2007 where I really had to ask myself the question, if I was going to continue doing this, I really, truly would have to find a passion far deeper than just smiling in front of a camera. And that's when I discovered theater. It was at that moment where I decided this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Now you've done quite a bit of theater and film and TV. Yeah. Take me to one moment where you felt like, wow, pinch me and I'm doing this, I'm actually here, and this is, you know, kind of a fantasy come true.
I think that was probably, those were probably my earlier years, you know, because I was still green and it was still new. And I remember when I did LAX, the first TV series I was on, and you know, I was playing opposite Heather Locklear and Blair Underwood. And they're two people that I had admired on the screen before. I think that was definitely a part where I was like, oh, this is great. I want to do this. I want to keep meeting more and more and more. And then I met Kiefer Sutherland doing an episode of 24, and he was an interesting guy. And a really incredible man that I met, Mark Harmon, doing NCIS. He was a gem. And many different people along the way. Charlie Sheen recently as well. I did an episode of Anger Management. Yeah, and watching him, and he was such an amazing man. Honestly, outside of anything anyone has to say, he was truly a beautiful man. I mean, I met him briefly and we exchanged words briefly, but he was very approachable, very earnest, very honest man. It's always fascinating, and seeing different actors on stage. I got to watch Pacino do Salome. That was actually the first time I saw Jessica Chastain on stage as well. And she was fantastic. You know, as much as Al Pacino is, and I idolize him, watching Jessica Chastain on stage was like, I couldn't take my eyes off. Now, granted, she wasn't wearing, she was topless, and that you know, but that may have had something to do with it. No, but she is, I mean, you see the work later on in her career, and you get it. You get why she's just such an incredible actress. But seeing all these different actors, it's so inspiring, so inspirational.
Well, it was so great talking to you.
Such a pleasure to be here.
And you know, your film is just released. We wish you all the best.
Thank you.
What can we expect from you next?
I recently had another film at Sundance this year called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's an Iranian vampire western, but it's an American film. It's all in black and white, and it's all in Farsi. It's a cinematic beauty, this film. It's absolutely incredible. I have another film, Funeral Day, and I'll keep you updated. And a couple of other things that I'm actually been told not to mention
Okay.
at this point, but
It's in the works.
that are in the works that are very exciting. So I'm looking forward to those as well and to sharing.
Absolutely. We're there rooting for you.
Thank you, Reshma. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Catch Jinn.